Shabbat Shalom, everyone, and welcome to the temple. It's great to have you with us. We have a special Shabbat today. It's part of a national Shabbat organized by the National Council of Jewish Women all around of North America. There are about 200 organizations, Jewish organizations, that are sponsoring this special Shabbat, including the Union of Reform Judaism and the Central Conference of American Reform Judaism, Reform Rabbis. This Shabbat is called Repro Shabbat, which means that it's about reproductive rights of women. And the reason that they picked this special Shabbat is because it's the only Shabbat where in its Torah portion there's actually a discussion that leads to the traditional Jewish opinion about reproductive rights and about abortions and all the discussions in our rabbinical literature and all through Jewish history are based on our Torah portion. So during the Torah service, we will obviously read this part, and we will have a chance to discuss a little bit the issues that come from this short section of our Torah portion and how Jewish tradition interpret them throughout the ages all the way till today. It's actually pretty amazing how Jewish tradition was always ahead of its time and how actually it's in our times, in modern times, that all of a sudden positions that were there for thousands of years are becoming controversial. We begin our service as we sing together Maya Fe Hayom, Shabbat Shalom. How beautiful the day is, it is Shabbat. And we turn to page 172 to sing together Matovu. Turn now to page 195 as we rise for the Baruch. אתה אדוני, אלוהינו מלך העולם, יוצר אור ובורא חושך, עושה שלום ובורא את הכל, המאיר לארץ ולדרים עליה ברחמים, ובטובו מחדש בכל יום תמיד מעשה וראשית. מה רבו מעשיך אדוני, כולם בחוכמה עשית, מלאה הארץ קנייניך. תתברך אדוני אלוהינו על שבח מעשה ידיך, ועל מאורי אור שעשית יפארו הסלע. אור חדש על ציון תאיר, ונזכה כולנו מהרה לאורו. ברוך אתה אדוני יוצר המאורות. And we read together. The world is sunlight, restoring the soul, rejoicing the heart, bringing light to the eyes, more welcome than gold, a Torah from heaven. I have no light to give the morning. My Torah, my special human gift is words. As I bring my words forth from silence, welcome them. You redeems the sun from darkness. Baruch atah Adonai, Yotzer HaMeorot. We turn now to page 200 for the calling of the Shema.
Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. 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 Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Le'olam Va'ed. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם, בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך, ובשוך בך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובישריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
Love Adonai your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your mind. And these words which I command you on this day shall be in your heart, shall be in your heart. Teach them faithfully unto your children. Speak of them when you sit in your house, when you walk by the way, when you lie down, and when you rise. Bind them for a sign upon your hand, that they may be a symbol between your eyes. Write them on the doorposts of your house, and upon your gates, and upon your gates.
turn now to page 204 to sing together Mi Chamocha.
Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi chamocha neder b'kodesh, nurot eiot oseh va'aleh. Shira חדשה, שיבחו גאולים לשמחו על שפת הים. יחד כולם אותו המיחו ואמרו אדוני
We rise for the tefillah on page 205. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו ואלוהי אבותינו ואמותינו, אלוהי אברהם, אלוהי יצחק ואלוהי יעקב, אלוהי שרה, אלוהי רבקה, אלוהי רחל ואלוהי לאה, האל הגדול, הגיבור והנורא, אל עליון, גומל חסדים טובים וקונה הכל, וזוכר חסדי אבות ואימהות, ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם למען שמו באהבה. מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן, ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם ועזרת שרה. Source of all being, we turn to you as did our people in ancient days. They beheld you in the heavens, they felt you in their hearts, they sought you in their lives. Their quest is ours. Help us to see the wonder of being. Give us the courage to search for truth. Teach us the path to a better life. So shall we, by our lives and our labors, bring nearer the world we envision, one of justice, freedom, and peace. Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham ve'ezrat Sarah. You are the open door that beckons me in. Peeking around the door frame, I begin to enter into your glory. You move me forward, O Eternal, to step beyond self-made boundaries. Lift my foot over the threshold that I might abide with you. In the house of the Eternal, I found my questions waiting to be posed. They filled me with wonder. Sit with me, Eternal Teacher. Encourage my seeking. As I fill my hours with your mitzvot, so shall I be filled. Send me through your door, stretching up to honor your name, sharing out this wonder, enriching myself in the giving. Blessed are you, Adonai, who gives life to all. Baruch atah Adonai, mechaye hakol.
נקדש את שמך בעולם, כשם שמקדישים אותו בשמי מרום, ככתוב על יד נביאך. אבינו ומלכינו ומושיענו והוא ישמיענו ברחמיו לעיני כל חי. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, ימלוך אדוני לעולם, אלוהיך ציון לדור ודור. הללויה. לדור ודור נגיד גודלך, ולנצח נצחים קדושתך נקדיש. ושבחך אלוהינו מפינו לא יחוש לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש.
To all generations we will make known your greatness, and to all eternity proclaim your holiness. Your praise, O God, shall never depart from our lips. Blessed are you, Adonai, the holy God. Baruch atah Adonai, Ha'el HaKadosh. Please be seated.
ישמחו במלכותך, שמרי 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 שבת, וקורא עונג שבת. ישמחו במלכותך, שמרי 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 שבת, וקורא עונג שבת.
turn now to page 216 for the blessing for Shalom. O God, may we never become complacent, faltering in our effort to build a world of peace. Let the nations know and understand that justice and right are better than dominion and conquest. May all come to see that it is not by might nor by power, but by your Spirit that life prevails. Praised are you, Adonai, who blesses your people Israel with peace. Baruch atah Adonai, hamvarech et amo Yisrael bashalom. We all need courage and strength and healing in our lives, in the life of everyone that is dear to us. The Misha Berach, the prayer for healing and strength and courage, is on page 253. We turn now to Seder Kriyat Torah Shabbat, the order of reading from the Torah on Shabbat, on page 244.
Adonai
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Hear, O Israel, Adonai is our God, Adonai is one. Echad Eloheinu, Gadol Adonenu, Kadosh Shemo. Our God is one. Adonai is great. Holy is God's name. Our Torah portion is called Mishpatim, which means laws. It comes right after the story about the revelation of Adonai our God in Sinai. So if you remember last week's in Torah portion, we got the 2 tablets of covenant that we refer to as the 10 Commandments. And in this week's Torah portion, we get kind of the interpretation of what it means to fulfill the covenant that is in the 2 tablets of covenant, the nitty-gritty of the day-to-day life of what it means to be in a covenant with Adonai. And right after that, at the end of our Torah portion, Moses is signing the covenant with God, and he does a whole ceremony, and all the people of Israel say, "We will do and we will hear," meaning they are signing off, sealing the deal of the covenant with Adonai. We're going to read a small part of those laws of that covenant, the only part in the entire Torah, actually in the entire Bible, that has a story about a miscarriage or an abortion. And on this little story, the entire tradition of how Jews see the right to have an abortion, what do you do in case that a woman needs an abortion, and what is referred to in our days reproductive rights, it's all based on our Torah portion. So it's a very important part. But first we'll say the blessing for reading from the Torah on page 250. Please lead us, Jennifer.
Baruch hu et Adonai HaMvorach.
ברוך אדוני המבורך לעולם ועד.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim, v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai, noten haTorah. Amen.
וכי ינצו אנשים ונגפו אישה הרה ויצאו ילדיה ולא יהיה אסון, אנוש יענש כאשר יסית עליו בעל האישה ונתן בפלילים. ואם אסון יהיה וניתנה נפש תחת נפש, עין תחת עין, שן תחת שן, יד תחת יד, רגל תחת רגל, כבייה תחת כבייה, פצע תחת פצע, חבורה תחת חבורה. And our translation goes like this. When men fight and one of them pushes a pregnant woman and a miscarriage results, but no other damage ensues, the one responsible shall be fined according as the woman's husband may exact from him, the payment to be based on reckoning. But if other damage ensues, the penalty shall be life for life, eye for eye, tooth for tooth, hand for hand, foot for foot, burn for burn, wound for wound, bruise for bruise. So what is the Torah actually saying to us, and what has Jewish tradition made out of this? If we have an accident, two men are fighting with one another, and one of them hits a woman who happens to be nearby, and she's pregnant, and there's a miscarriage, that person has to pay a monetary, a financial penalty to the woman and her husband. But if the woman herself is hurt, then it's life for life. Now our Old Torah portion, that's why I read the two other verses, is based on the idea of a life for a life, an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. The idea is human beings who are created in the image of God. You cannot pay restitution if you kill another person. If you kill a person, you're killing a creature in the image of God, meaning you're hurting the divine itself. That means you pay with your own life. And there is two situations here. If there's a miscarriage, then you pay a financial penalty. Now, in another part of the same chapter of the same Torah portion, it says, if there is damages that are not life, if somebody damages your property, they pay a financial penalty. But if someone takes your life, their life is going to be taken from them. So the Torah says, if you kill a person, you're dead. If you hurt something that is not considered a life, something that is not considered a person, then you pay a fine. The rabbis understand that. And all through the Mishnah, the first Jewish law book, and later on in the Talmud, the rabbis are saying that a pregnancy, the embryo, the fetus, is like the thigh of a woman. So it's not a life. The rabbis will later on going to say that the embryo becomes life and is treated as life only when the head emerges from the womb. That means only at the moment of birth, when you have actual birth, according to our tradition, to our ancient tradition actually, then an embryo, a fetus, is considered life. Up to that point, it's like an organ of a woman. And the rabbis are saying, already in the Mishnah, already in the Talmud, that means almost 2,000 years ago, obviously, if there's a danger to the health or to the life of the woman, you do the same thing that you do if there's a danger that comes from a broken, swollen hand or leg. You take that off in order to save the life of a woman. The woman's life or health comes first, because it's not a life for a life. When you are doing an abortion according to our tradition, all through the Mishnah and the Talmud, one of the few things that rabbis actually don't really argue about, they are all in agreement that the life of the woman comes first. Later on, in the Middle Ages, still not in modernity, I mean, we're talking about 800, 900 years ago, the rabbis are actually expanding it, and they're saying it's not only if the woman's health or life is in danger, if her social well-being or economical well-being is really in jeopardy, if having the child, if going with the pregnancy to its fullness, and then having a child will endanger her socioeconomic situation, then she has the right to decide to end the pregnancy. The rabbis, all the way till the 20th century actually, are seeing a woman to have full reproductive rights and full control over her body. I'm not saying that they're taking the issue of abortion lightly, just like you don't take lightly taking off your finger, or if God forbid you have cancer, a tumor or an organ. This is not something to be taken lightly. This is a very serious decision. But they're looking at it at the same way. Obviously, if you're facing some kind of cancer and taking an organ out of you or taking the tumor out of you, which is a dangerous operation, you wouldn't think more than 2 or 3 times over that. You wouldn't risk your life in order to save the tumor or to save the organ. I'm not talking about a complex situation, but they see it as a simple situation. And as I mentioned, they later on expanded into something much greater than that it's not only the health of the woman, but it's the well-being of the woman. When did that issue become controversial in Jewish tradition? Surprisingly enough, not in the Bible, not in rabbinical literature that dates to 2,000 years ago or 1,500 years ago, not in the Middle Ages, not even post that, but in modern times. And it became controversial because of Christian influence. The first rabbi in the 20th century to say that we shouldn't allow abortions has the candidacy, the truthfulness of actually giving a reason for that. And that rabbi writes the following, an amazing writing. That rabbi says, well, obviously Jewish tradition agrees till this point clearly that women have the right over their bodies and that women can, in cases that their health is in jeopardy or their well-being is in jeopardy, to choose to have an abortion. However, that rabbi writes, we have an issue. The issue is called the Pope. The Pope is against that, and we cannot allow the Pope to be more righteous than us. This is an amazing statement. Ultra-Orthodox Jews changed their views on abortion, and also some Orthodox Jews, because the original statement at least said they want to be more righteous than the Pope. Well, I have to say to you, thank God the Reform movement doesn't want to be more righteous than the Pope. Thank God that most rabbis and most Jewish leaders and the National Council of Jewish Women does not aspire to be more righteous than the Pope. And we're going with the traditional Jewish view that was always there, that women have a right on their bodies and on their destiny, even when it comes to the future of their well-being and their economical situation, and so much more so when their health is in danger and their well-being is in danger. Let's say the blessing after reading from the Torah.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torah emet, v'chayei olam nata b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai, noten haTorah. Amen. V'zot haTorah asher sam Moshe livnei bnei Yisrael. V'zot haTorah asher sam Moshe livnei bnei Yisrael. Al pi Adonai b'yad Moshe, b'yad Moshe. Al pi Adonai b'yad Moshe, b'yad Moshe. V'zot haTorah asher sam Moshe livnei bnei Yisrael. V'zot haTorah asher sam Moshe livnei bnei Yisrael.
Our thoughts turn to those who have departed this earth, our own loved ones, those whom our friends and neighbors have lost, the martyrs of our people, whose graves are unmarked, and those of every race and nation, whose lives have been a blessing to humanity. As we remember them, we meditate on the meaning of love and loss, of life and death. On this Shabbat, we remember especially Marianne Morgulin, John A. DeAngelo, Shirley Tanchester Reese, Florence Katz, Ethel Levy, Richard Green, Nancy Cunningham, Elizabeth Traeger-Baum, Nina Brink, Michael Alexander, Shirley Waldman, David Friedlander, June Coleman, Phyllis Harrow, Selwyn Garmon, Olwyn Fass, Leon Levy, Bess Brown, Arnold Fox, Nathan Katz, Jeanette Feynman-Gotti, Martin Schiffman, Tina Bruchot-Novik, Jody Marks, Herman Neiber, Herbert Marks, Connie Allen, Gerda Richards, Bernard Traeger, Harriet Wiener, William Benovitz, Carol Fink, Armand Essing, Charles Droutman, Evelyn Van Dam, Nathan Levin, Melanie Lederman, Ruth Shapiro, David Boss, Ilma Hirsch, Ray Silverstone, and in recent days, Gladys Lowenthal-Bass. We think of our loved ones whom death has recently taken from us, those who died at this season in years past, and those whom we have drawn into our hearts with our own. With the blessed memories from our loved ones in our hearts, we rise as we turn to page 294 for the Mourner's Kaddish. יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה, בעלמא דברה חירותי וימליך מלכותי, בחייכון וביומכון ובחיי דכל בית ישראל, בעגלה ובזמן קריב, ואמרו אמן. יהא שמי רבה מברך לעלם ולעולמי עלמיה. יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא, ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי דקודשה בריחו. לעילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה, דאמירן בעלמה ואמרו אמן. יהא שלמה רבה מן שמיה, וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן. זיכרונם לברכה, may the memory of our loved ones come to be a blessing and a benediction. Amen. Our closing song is Oseh Shalom. It's the last words of the Mourner's Kaddish on page 294.
Oseh Shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol
ששון מלפניך, אדוני אלוהינו ואלוהי אמותינו, שתוליכנו לשלום. May it be your will, Adonai our God and God of our ancestors, that we be guided on the paths of shalom, of wellness and wholeness and well-being and peace, that you always protect us from all harm and evil on our way. Bless the work of our hands and grant us grace, loving kindness and compassion in your eyes, in the eyes of everyone that sees us. Adonai Shalom, bless us with a Shabbat of Shalom. Shalom to our bodies, Shalom to our minds, Shalom to our souls. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shalom.